Hey guys, so we're going to be going through some more Unreal Engine 4 content today. You can see I've still got the previous project up. I thought I'd keep going on that and you can kind of see it moving along as we go through. One thing we're going to go through really quickly first, because we are going to be editing some blueprints today, and that's going to take a little bit of swapping between screens, and if you don't have two monitors this can be quite frustrating. So one thing I normally do actually is I click here and I go new editor window, and you can see there that actually takes this out. If I make that full screen as well, it gives you a really good feel of what the game's actually going to be like when you're playing it, as opposed to just playing in this. So like previously, if we were on the selected view like that, it does kind of still have an Unreal Engine feel to it because you've got all the access to the materials around it. One other thing we can do as well, so if I go to advanced settings, you can actually change your viewport width and height. And if I go to monitors and I change it to 27, alright, so that's my monitor size. And I exit that and I go play. Oh, sorry. And I go to back to that. And you can see there that it fills up my whole monitor. Actually, a little bit too much. So if I go to advanced setting, and it will take, kind of like I'm showing now, it does take a little bit of playing to get the hang of it. Alright, we'll try that one. That's better, so that fits perfect on my monitor. What I'm going to do though, actually, because even that, like I do like to have options and be able to click behind it. I do like having a new editor selected, but I actually don't like it being like taking up my entire screen. Pretty sure I had on that. And that will do. Cool, that'll work. And that way I've got options behind it, so when I am in a blueprint I can open that up and still see the blueprint behind it as well, which I do find handy. So one thing we're going to be doing now is messing around with this guy here. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can get to this guy's blueprint, and as you'll see, we're pretty lucky with Unreal Engine. It does come with some cool things. So I can either double click down here, double click over here. So if I double click over there, it selects him for me, and it always know it's selected by the yellow color around them. And I go edit blueprint, open blueprint editor, and you can see there that it opens up their blueprint for you, and you can see all the different ones there, and they're labeled quite nicely as well, so you know what they're all doing. So the movement input, gamepad input, touch input, jump input, move input, so all the different inputs are there and they've all been coded for you, which is really nice. If I exit that window, I can also double click down here, and that will open up as well. You can open Viewport and you can see your character. So if you ever wanted to change how they look, if I go to materials, make him look like a wooden one, like that, and you change different ones like that. Compile, save, and now I've got a wooden man to go along with my leaf cube that I made. Okay, bit of a theme going on there. But what we want to actually be doing is messing with the different nodes that we have here, because this is what actually codes your game to be doing things. Specifically, what we'll do is something quite simple that most people that have played games before have used, and that is normal as opposed to inverted look movement. Okay, and the same thing like on the viewport we had before. Scroll in and out, right click and drag to move around. You can left click on these nodes and that's what moves them. One thing as well, so I talked about files being important and file names being important. Making sure everything is organized in your code is also really important. If anything ever goes wrong, you can find it really easy, and this is where the term spaghetti code comes from as well, these lines here. So essentially it's quite easy to change this to being inverted mouse. So I want to remove this because this node here, so axis value is going towards that value there, so it's adding a value to control pitch input. Okay, so all of these will tell you basically what they do. So input action jump, jump, stop jump. Alright, pressed, released. So it's really quite simple explaining what it wants to do. So if I ever need to remove one of these nodes, so if I hold Alt and left click, it gets rid of that node for me. There's two ways to add new nodes: left click and drag, and then it comes up with millions upon millions, because under each of these is another heap of nodes that you can select. Okay, so the easiest way to do this, and I don't normally take context sensitive off, is I click over here and type float, okay, because we're taking two numbers and we're doing a basic calculation with them, okay. And you can see here we have float multiplication, float addition, return value is less than, and different things like that. So they do get quite technical. We are doing a simple multiplication float, and you can see there, once I've dragged that off, it automatically attached that as well. So if I go Control Z, get rid of that, right click, float, whoops, float, and then it creates my node for me as well. And you see there, I can add my two values. I only need one because I'm adding that and saying that's the value I want to start with, and then adding my multiplier in there. So if I go over here and type -1 and then press compile save, I always press compile save just to make sure I'm always applying these different changes I make in my blueprint. And then if I press play, I can see there I've got my character, and I'm not used to having an input mouse control, and hence I hate that a lot. Okay, and to change that back, literally all I need to do is change that to 1, press enter, compile save, and play that, and you can see here that now I'm back to my normal control. Okay, so we've done a little bit of changing there with the code that was quite simple, but hopefully that's helped you get a little bit of a start with that. Okay, so now we've done that, hopefully you've got a little bit of an idea around how that works. So one other thing we need to do as well is show you how to actually organize these things correctly. So you can see these boxes here, and if I've made that a little bit bigger, I can spread that out to cover it up. If I ever need to add, which you'll definitely need to be adding another bit of code, if I press C, and then I can add, so if I was going to get him to alter between animations, say, and I could call that animation changes, and that's where I'm going to add all my animation changes within that. Okay, and then you can Control Z to get rid of that. Alright, cool. So I've added that, compile, save. So if you like having inverted controls, sorry, you can have that there. I don't know where that one's come from. We'll get rid of that. If you like that, you can change that and keep that like that. One other thing we probably could test as well, if you've ever accidentally, sorry, if I go 0.02, compile, save. So using the mouse, sorry, and you've ever had your sensitivity turn way down, so you can see here, if I'm trying to look up and down, I almost have to move the entire length of my desk to move up and down, and that's because I've changed that to such a small value. So what I'd suggest, give that a go, and that's how changing mouse sensitivity generally works, using different values like that, and going through that way. Now what we're going to do is change our level blueprint. So using different actors and pawns and stuff, this is how you're going to generally use those. If I go back to our level and go to blueprints, we can change our level blueprint. So what we're actually going to do though is change our, so you can see at the moment our character's starting over here all by himself, and I want him to start on our cube that's nice and leafy green. Actually, now that I've changed his outside to a wood, it's going to look like an inverted tree, but that's pretty cool anyway. So keeping this cube selected and making sure it's got the yellow around the outside is important too, so that way you doubly know that it's selected. And I can open up level blueprint. Okay, now you can see here there's absolutely nothing on this level. So if I right click though, create a reference to cube mesh. So if I click on that, and I've got a reference to that cube mesh, okay, and we want him to be spawning on top of it, so we can minimize that window. Click on our character, open back up our blueprint for our level, right click, and create a reference to our third person character as well. Okay, so we've got those two parts there. Now, that's the references to those. We need a trigger to say, all right, when are these starting? Okay, and what we can do for that is add a event node. Event. So event begin tick is the one that's instantly highlighted. So that means every tick, I think it's every second, but I don't quote me on that, an event will happen, all right, and it'll trigger this code. We don't want that. We want him to appear on top of this cube when we start playing. So event begin play is the node we're going to want for that. Okay. Now once we've got that, we need to say, all right, we need to get the actor location. So we want the cube to be get to location. Okay, so we want the cube to be getting the actor location. That's fantastic. We then need to be setting the actor location. So we need to be setting this guy's location. Set actor location over there. Okay, so we've got our white node here to execute at begin play. So if I attach that up there, and you can see that those ones will only attach to those ones will only attach to those ones, and you see we've got a nifty yellow one down here as well, and that will attach to that yellow one there as well. Okay, we don't actually need to continue this. Well, we could continue this code with triggering something else, but we don't really need to. Okay. Also, if I get rid of this, you can see that you could actually be setting a strategic location in your level as well with this, but it's quite easy to do that. Normally you do this as well, so you'll be putting in a start point or a spawn point for your actor. I'm just using the cube because it's already there. Okay. So now if I go compile save, and I'll press play, and you can see there that I'm starting a bit off the cube. I think it's because it won't let me start inside the cube, because what happens is both of these, so they're both being targeted and they're both saying, all right, go right inside of each other. Okay, so to fix this is actually quite easy. So if we actually add a vector in, and this will let us offset our person spawning a little bit. So if I click on this, oh, typing's not good today. Vector. We need a vector plus vector. Alright, cool. So we've got that there, and so if I get this to change a little bit, so I'll get it changed. So the X and Y location, I don't need to change that, do I? Because it's trying to go right in the middle of it. I want it to appear on top of my cube, so I need to change my Z location. I can change that to 100. Alright. And then attach that to there. So now our code, and you can see here a little bit of that spaghettiness is happening. So you can see here that our code is going, all right, we want to get our cube mesh to get our actor location, want it to be 100 units off the ground, and it's going to set our actor location over here, and it's happening at the beginning of play. So if I go compile save and press play, and you can see that I instantly spawn on top of our cube there. Okay. Alright, hopefully this has helped you out. And you can see that with different things, this could work differently. If I tried to do this on top of a sphere, I'd slide straight off because I do have physics involved. So hopefully this is your first taste, well not hopefully, but if this is your first taste of using blueprints, whether it be the level blueprint or an actor blueprint, hopefully it's helped. Any questions, leave in the comments below, and we'll be moving on to our next video where we start to add some lamps and things, different lamps into our project.